Welcome back to the Dividend Diplomats YouTube channel. You got your boys, Lanny Burt, the Dividend Diplomats. Well, you know what we're talking about today? We're doing the final conclusion in the series. We've talked about these two companies a few times now. Johnson & Johnson, Kenvue. The dust has settled from the big split off that occurred earlier in the month. The question is, do we regret our decision to keep all of our Johnson & Johnson shares and not exchange anything for Kenvue?
Smash that subscribe button. Give Bert and I a nice thumbs up, guys. Kenvue and JNJ. JNJ and Kenvue, guys. The king of kings versus the up-and-coming split off from J&J. That's what this final trilogy, the final chapter of the saga, maybe, is all about.
I think this is going to be the final chapter in the big decision saga. We may evaluate it after, but this one, we're done. We're taking the look back, and we are excited to talk through it. Because what happened? Johnson & Johnson split off its Kenvue investment. At the end of the day, this happened. I believe the exchange closed August 18th, I believe. And then the new post-exchange started trading August 21st. Please correct me if that wasn't the date, but we're going to go with August 21st for the purpose of this video. What happened? It was an oversubscribed exchange. More people wanted to dump their J&J shares for Kenvue than they were expecting. At the end of the day, the exchange ratio was one share of Johnson & Johnson for 8.0324 shares of Kenvue.
Oversubscribed. Had to sell a share to get a bunch of shares. Now, the caveat was J&J was going to continue to hold a stake into Kenvue, right?
Yeah, that was one of the surprises. I thought they were trying to dump all of it by the end of the year. They're still planning on holding a 9.5% stake. So if management goes by its words earlier in the year, then they're going to get rid of that last 9.5% before December 31st. I thought that was an interesting caveat in all of this.
What a cluster. That's all I got to say, guys. It's over. The dust is settled. Bert, you
Thank
decided
goodness.
not to do the conversion, right?
Nope, I did not. I keeping all of my shares of Johnson & Johnson.
All
What about you, Lanny?
kept them all, held them all, and still hold them all.
I love
I
it.
have all the cards.
We're in the same boat. Luckily, though, for Johnson & Johnson, this was a little bit of a waterfall for them. They raised $13.2 billion of cash from there. They reduced their share count by 191 million shares with the exchange, which turned into a 28-cent per share benefit in the adjusted earnings per share. Lower EPS, lower shares, lower denominator, increased earnings per share.
Nice job, J&J. Touche, brother. I appreciate that. And then, Bert, now that the dust is settled, I know J&J provided a little bit of guidance updates. What they expect, earnings to be like, what they expect that dividend to be like, because there was a little bit of fear if the dividend was going to be reduced because of a huge cash flow and revenue generator was split off from J&J to form Kenvue.
Yeah, that's right. And that's why we waited till now to do the video. We've all been kind of sitting on the edge of our seat waiting to know what the new Johnson & Johnson entity is going to do. When we've talked about this in previous videos, earnings per share for the company were in the high 10s. So you could say anywhere between 10.75 and 11. That was, in my mind, the expectation. Management's revised EPS outlook is $10 to $10.10 range right there, which indicates 12 to 13% year over year growth for the remaining entity. So pretty solid. Previously, it was in that 1070 to 1080 range, which was 5.5% growth. So they shed the low growth piece of this, the division that was dragging down the earnings growth, and they're left with the big earnings drivers that are giving that 12% to 13% year over year growth. That right there is why they made this move to focus J&J on the high earnings growth portion.
High earnings growth, the higher margin business in the pharma space, guys. Yeah, it's no question why they wanted to do it. They joined the community of Pfizer, Glasgow. Technically, I guess, Abbott did it first with, AbbVie. So, there's been a long history now of spin-offs. This one's more in line with spinning off the consumer segment. So here we are. We're filming this here, guys, August 31st, the last day of the month. It's been now 10 full days since the split off happened. So you were able to grab Kenvue, at a lower share price. What was it, Bert? A 7% discount?
Yep, that was the one caveat from it. It was a 7% discount in a tax-free exchange.
Tax-free exchange, 7% discount. At that time on 8/21, I know the close price for KVUE was 22.90. Close price today is 23.05. So you're up about 0.66% right now on your Kenvue stock if you still hold it.
Right. And the big moment would have been you could have it got as high as 23.74 and then it's come back down to life. So for all those people that did the exchange and sold at 23.74, kudos to you. That was the perfect time to sell Kenvue. So nice job if you were able to do that. And comparatively, Johnson & Johnson 8/21 close was 167.35. That price has continued to drop. It's at 161.68 at the close, so it's down 3.39%.
The J&J stock is down. Kenvue stock slightly up. J&J is still the king of Kingsburg. So the question is now, are you happy with your decision?
Yes, absolutely yes. Sure, there was the arbitrage opportunity that everybody talked about. The one where the 7% discount plus the mismatch in the gain from Kenvue, when the drop from Johnson & Johnson, that was an opportunity. But you know what? At the end of the day, Kenvue is reverting back. It's gone down. It's been at lower prices too. It's up at 0.66%. So in the long run, I'm going to be very ecstatic that I continue to hold Johnson & Johnson, and I may continue to buy Kenvue from there. But there's another reason why I am so happy that I held on to Johnson & Johnson, Lanny. And you mentioned something else was released this week in the guidance. What happened with Johnson & Johnson's dividend?
Correct. Yeah, I forgot. We didn't even touch on it. J&J says it's safe. This dividend ain't going nowhere. I'm not fucking leaving. Wolf of Wall Street style, guys. That's what the dividend said from the J&J pockets, guys. It is staying at $1.19 per share per quarter.
Huge.
So they took a little chapter out of Pfizer's book right there, if you catch my drift.
And that's what's huge. We weren't sure because you were peeling off a cash cow, a revenue generator, what was going to happen to the dividend. Johnson & Johnson said you don't even have to worry. Freaking love that. And that's why I'm happy I'm still holding on to J&J.
Guys, can you tell Bert is excited? Let us know in the comments. How excited are you about that announcement, guys? Tell us in the comments below, please.
And let us know what you did with your Johnson & Johnson and Kenvue shares. I know a lot of the people beforehand were predominantly holding on to Johnson & Johnson. There were some exchanges, but most were keeping J&J. Are you happy with your decision? Would you have done it differently knowing what you know now?
The funniest part too, guys, is at one point, Kenvue was treading towards, a low 22 range too. So you're going through a little bit of volatility within Kenvue stock, subsequent to the split off.
It's a good point though, and that's something that has to be factored in. If you weren't able to capture Kenvue and sell it at that peak 23.74 and capture the largest gain, you might be in for just a bumpy ride here. And that's part of it. Johnson & Johnson is going to continue being Johnson & Johnson.
Yeah, I mean, 60 years of dividends behind them, not just paying them, but increasing them is, can't erase the time, can't erase the history. Hopefully Kenvue performs the same for you. Hopefully growth is there. You have to really see the yield might be stronger with Kenvue now, over 3%. But I'm curious what that dividend growth looks like if it was the lower margin, lower growth outlook business.
Love it. And before we sign off here, we didn't ask you, Lanny, are you happy with your decision? I skipped over asking you, so I apologize.
Yeah, well, hey, it's all right, Bert. I didn't own as many shares as, I didn't have over 100 or in your case, 200 shares of J&J between you and your wife. Yeah, I'm completely happy. But what it made me do though is really look at the pharmaceutical space because now, I've got J&J, I've got Pfizer, I've got AbbVie, I've got Glasgow, I've got Viatris still.
You got a lot.
There's a lot of pharma in the bag. And, Kenvue is a special company as well. Again, they have different products. I think they'll be a solid performing stock, kind of like your Hormel of the consumer goods, for lack of a better way to say it. Yeah, I'm happy. I'm fine.
Perfect. All right, everybody. Lanny's happy. I'm happy. You're all happy. We're all happy here, everybody. You happy? We're happy. Everyone's happy. So if you haven't, subscribe to the channel. Give this video a good old-fashioned thumbs up. And remember, if you're not with us, you're against us.
Guys, that was Bert, the Hurt, and Lanny from the Dividend Diplomats. Over and out.